All right, so we're talking about effective communication. But what is communication? It is the exchange of thoughts, ideas, messages, information, signals, speech, behavior. Um, and so any process through which we exchange thoughts and ideas and messages and signals, this is known as communication. Now, communication can be effective or it can be ineffective. But first of all, let's understand the process of how communication works, because understanding the process helps us to make our communication very effective. Now, before I even get into the whole process of communication, I must make it clear that communication differs from people to people. It differs from cultural context from one culture to the next. It also differs from person to person. So for example, men communicate different from women. Yes. Males communicate different from females. I'll give you an example. When I was getting married, my marriage counselor said, a good way to help engender a good relationship with your wife is to, when she comes home, just ask her, how was your day? Now, I learned very, very quickly in my marriage that that was a very dangerous question to ask my wife. Because when I asked her, how was your day, honey? We lived in Mobile at the time, and she worked in St. Anne, so she would travel from Montego Bay to St. Anne. And so she was like, all right, when I left out this morning, this was what happened on the road. And she would give me ball by ball commentary of what took place from when she left home till she get to work and when she came back. So when she asked me the question, no, how was your day, honey? I said, it was all right. And she's like, just like that? I said, yeah, it was all right. Because women like to share, females like to share a lot of information, So they give ball by ball commentary. We just give the commentary, the summary on the commentary. We don't want to hear we just want to hear the full sum of the matter. So even among males and females, communication is different, right? And individuals communicate differently. People in different cultures communicate differently. Even within the Jamaican culture, there are subcultures within the Jamaican cultural context. And in that subculture, people communicate differently. All right? So communication differs. So for example, let's think Jamaica now, all right? The first time I heard someone say, Kumia, 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 I was wondering what they were talking about. Are they talking about Kumina? Because I know that it's not Kumia, it's Kumina. And then they say, no, Kumia, Kumia. But this was someone saying, come here. No, I never heard the patois like that before. I've never heard the Jamaican vernacular express it that way. Right? But it just expresses the idea that within the Jamaican culture, there are various cultures and subcultures. So even how you hear people talk, people in Kingston talk different from people in Westmoreland and people in St. James and people in St. Mary and Portland, right? So in our communication, we differ even within a particular country. You may have different subcultures, and the communication process and the way we communicate, the way we share thoughts and ideas may differ. All right? So let's get to the whole process of communication. All right? Now, the communication process involves a source, and that is where the information to be shared originates. All right? Or this is where it's currently resident. All right? So I have information, I have ideas, I have thoughts that I want to share, and so I'm now the source. That information is now encoded and is passed through a channel. So for example, if I'm going to use my cell phone as the device through which I will communicate and share the ideas that I have, then the encoding now happens with the sound waves being converted into electromagnetic waves or electrical waves, and they are now sent through a channel. So there is the source, the information is encoded, it's passed through a channel, right? And in this case now it goes through the wireless RF signals, or it will travel over the copper wires, or it will travel through via light. It's converted again to light and travels through fiber optic and gets to some location where they decode the information, right? The information is decoded when it gets to the other end, and then the receiver now is able to hear in that decoded, after the decoding process, when it's reconverted now back from light or from RF or copper signals or electrical signals on copper. It's converted now back into sound waves, and I can now hear, right? So the receiver receives the information, but the process does not end there, because the receiver needs to give some level of feedback so that the one who was the source gets feedback from the receiver, and that tells the source, yes, our communication is effective because what I told the person, that is the understanding. But individuals may not understand what we say. And if no one understands you, then your communication is not effective, right? There needs to be clear understanding, and the feedback verifies the understanding between communicators, all right? So, now, it is said that human beings spend 70 of our waking hours communicating, whether speaking, listening, reading, writing, blogging, surfing, posting, tweeting, Instagramming, posting, right? So we spend 70 hours. Now, I believe that this figure has changed since COVID, because people spend so much more time on their electronic devices in COVID, whether you are there for work now, or you are there for one meeting after the other, one training after the other, right? So I believe we probably spend far more of our waking hours communicating and sharing thoughts and ideas, right? Since this COVID period. So when you think about that 70% of our waking hours that we spend communicating, they said 33% of that 70% is spent talking. So only 1/3 of that time is spent on talking. So even though we spend so much of our waking hours communicating, only 1/3 of that waking hour that we spend communicating is spent talking, right? We are sharing ideas in other ways. We're sharing information in other ways, right? It is said that 55% of what you share is shared through your body language. 55% of what you share is shared through your body language. 38% of what you share in terms of talking is shared through your they call it their paralanguage, or the non-verbal elements in your voice, so your tone, your modulation, your pauses, and so forth. And only 7% of what you share is really from the words. That's very interesting. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more. We're going to talk about some of those different types of communication, all right? So there are two principal types of communication. There is verbal and there is non-verbal communication. Now the first, right? When we think about verbal communication, we're talking about words, speaking, right? There's also written communication too, right? So verbal and non-verbal. When you think about verbal communication, these are the words that we say. And words, words are fluid. Words are dynamic. They change. A word in one culture may be okay. A word in another culture may be offensive. So this is also where your cultural sensitivity as a master guide. As a master guide in training is very important, because a word in this culture may not be offensive, but it may be offensive in another culture. And even within the Jamaican culture, words are just so fluid. I remember one day, I'd stop at the stoplight, waiting for the lights to change and the traffic to start flowing for me to drive. And this fellow comes up at the door at my window, and so he, very polite fellow. He come and he said, sir, please, I'm begging you for $1. This was a few years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. So he said, I'm begging you for $1. So I have the little coin pocket in my car. So I reached to the pocket, I took out $1 and I gave it to the young man. And the young man looked at me like with a serious face and said, hey, sir, really, sir? You're disrespecting me. I said, what do you mean I'm disrespecting you? You asked for $1. And he said, no man, I don't want $1. It's $100. That is $1. And he said, oh. So in Jamaica, $1 is $100. No, I can't. No, one day, all right, one day I dress up and I'm going out. I think I was going to some function, and so I came out now into the living room and I was about to leave, and so my son and I met around here, and he looked at me and said, "Why, Daddy, you look sick?" And I said, "No, no, man, I feel all right. No, I feel all right." He said, "No, no, Daddy, man, no, me say you look good." I said, "Oh, so me look sick. That mean me look good." No, when I'm growing up, when somebody say you look sick, it means you need to go to a doctor. But now, because of how words are fluid, him say, "You look sick, Daddy." That means I look good. No. If it didn't come home to you, let me tell you how words are fluid. There was a time when I could tell us that, boy, I love to eat fish. Lord have mercy.
So true, Pastor, so true.
I can't say it anymore.
No.
I go to the restaurant. I go to the restaurant and I have to make sure say I'm careful to order swimmers. You know what I'm talking about? Somebody
Yes,
must know what I'm
Pastor.
talking about.
Yes,
Somebody
and
know
you
what I'm
can't say
talking
two.
about.
You can't say two at
Somebody know
all.
what I'm talking about. Yes. So, words are fluid, they're dynamic. There was a story I was told some time ago about a waiter, a waiter who got a job at a restaurant, and a lot of tourists would come to the restaurant, and they would from time to time, hang out there, and they sell one of the best curry goat that you could find. So people would come there for the curry goat. So new waiter in town. So the tourists come off the bus, and as Jamaican, we have it twang, especially when we see people who come from foreign. Yeah, we have to put our little twang. So yeah, so and come out, "Hello, how can I help you all?" He said, "We're doing fine, we're doing fine." He said, "How's the curry goat today? Because we hear that this place sells the best curry goats around." He said, "How is the curry goat?" He said, "Man, the curry goat bad, it's bad. It's bad, man, it's bad. Turn up, it's bad." So that day, as the folks came in and there, nobody not ordering. So manager can't figure out why nobody not order no curry goat today. Curry goat normally sell out. When they check it out, nobody not ordering the curry goat because the waiter just tell them say curry goat bad. So as far as these foreigners were concerned, when him said curry goat bad, that means it's not good for consumption. But this poor Jamaican man, in Jamaica, when you say something bad, it's good. So him know when him say the thing bad, it means say it really turn up, it good. But the foreigners did not understand it that way. So words are fluid, and words may mean one thing in one culture and another. So for example, if you're talking to some Bajans and some Chinese, you can't go tell them, say, "Boy, some love bulla, family, I like a boy, I love bulla, because in their cultural context, a bulla is someone who's gay. So they might look at you differently now to say, "Well, have you seen a psychologist lately? Have you seen your pastor lately?" Yeah, but we know bulla cake is bulla cake, right? Yes. So when it comes to using words, be very careful. Choose your words wisely. Know what the word means before you use it, because you may use the word out of context. So not because you heard a man check out him young lady and him just hear them in parliament say, him just hear KD's telling the man, say, "Listen, man, you are pathologically mendacious." And he said, "Man, that sounds sweet, man." So you see a nice lady coming down, a nice master guide or MIT, and say, "Oh, madam, you are pathologically mendacious." When all you're doing is that you're telling her that she's a pathological liar. Right? So know what the word means before you use it, because you may use it out of context. Choose your words wisely, and words can build up and words can destroy. So in your verbal communication, please choose your words wisely. You don't have to always use big words. You're going to be dealing with a lot of pathfinders and adventurers, and as you deal with these younger ones, choose your words wisely. Get down to their level, communicate at their level, and sometimes even in your verbal communication, you need to literally get down to their level. So you're talking to some adventurers, and they are smaller, and you're a very tall master guide or M.I.T, and so is that you're looking down at them when you're talking to them. A good thing to do there is to just get down to their level. Bend down, get down, and come to their eye level, meet them at their level, and it will also remove one of the barriers to communication, which we're going to talk about some of those in a little while, all right? So it's very important for you to get down to individuals' level. So you're on the street, you're doing track distribution and so forth, and you meet some individuals, you know, who are hanging out on the corner and so forth. Get down to their level, you know, in terms of bring the communication at a level where they can clearly understand what you're saying. Don't go for big words that may sometimes complicate the process of communication because of the lack of understanding on the part of those individuals that you're seeking to share information and ideas, all right? In your verbal communication as well, ensure that there's clear understanding. And one way to do that is to repeat the information, is to say what you have to say very clearly, right? Make sure that they are hearing you clearly. And I'm really hoping that I'm communicating effectively, that you are at least hearing me clearly. I heard you earlier when I was talking about the swimmers thing. Yes. That means you're hearing me. Yeah. But you want to make sure that you are communicating very clearly. So be concise, be precise in what you're saying. Use simple words. Simple words. Speak in a moderate pace and tone, because that is also very important, right? You want to make sure that you share. You don't want to come across with your rate of speaking too slow, because if you really talk too slowly, you're going to find that you'll have a situation where, especially at this hour of the afternoon, these hours, you are just going to put individuals to sleep.
Sleep, right,
Yes.
sir.
So you don't want to talk so slowly. You want to speak in a moderate rate where you're not racing away from the individuals, but that your pace is engaging enough so that they can walk with you in your discussion and your dialogue, right? So you want to make sure that you speak at a comfortable pace and rate, so that the individuals can follow you. Don't go too slowly, because if you go too slowly, you are just going to lose them. They are going to be disconnected from you, and when that happens, then you've just wasted maybe hours of your time with individuals, right? Also in your communication, let's talk about in the verbal, let's talk about the non-verbal elements now in your communication, because that also can change the message that you are sending across, all right? So let me give you some examples here now. Let me try to put it as real and practical as we can. Oh yeah, so I have a 12-year-old daughter, and if I say to her, you know, John Marie, come here, John Marie, come here. Yes, Daddy, she won't come, yes, Daddy. Everything's all right, everything's okay. But if I say, John Marie, come here. Oh, yes, Daddy, yes, Daddy. Well, the tone of my voice, that the nonverbal elements in my voice tells her something's wrong in my second level of communication. So when I say, John Marie, come here, just the tone of my voice will communicate to her that something is wrong. I need to approach Daddy with caution. I may need to figure out a way how to massage my father's ego and to now make him, and to appease his anger. Huh? All right, let me tell you, you didn't get it, so let me give you. So my wife is home, my wife is at work, and I'm at work too, but I've been thinking about her, she's been on my mind, and I call her up, and I say, honey, what are you coming home this evening? She said, I have reports, it's the end of the month, and I have some reports to write, so I don't think I'm going to reach home before 8 o'clock. But you see, if I just put on my Barry White voice, I'm say, baby, what time are you going to get home this evening? She said, me I leave right now, no, me leaving right now. Huh? Me leaving right now. Just the tone of my voice tell her, say, something go on. Something's cooking. So the tone can also amplify or express hidden meaning in your communication. And so this is also very important as you communicate and share ideas, especially in the teaching, learning sessions with your master guides, with your master guides, your pathfinders, your adventurers, and your AYs in general, as you share with your young people, and as you share with your other leaders at church, because you want to make sure that your words are communicating exactly what you want to communicate, both verbally and with the non-verbal elements in your voice, because you don't want to send the wrong message to someone, right? So you want to make sure that what you're saying verbally, what the words are saying, that the non-verbal elements in your voice is also communicating the same information. So the tone of your voice, the inflections in your voice, right? The rate and pace at which you're speaking, right? How you're using the words, and also now your facial expression, how your face look. So I've seen people at church. Let me give you the church one first. I've seen people at church and so happy, 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 happy in the Lord. Oh, they sing this one, this famous one. There is sunshine in my soul today, more glorious. And when they look at their face screw up, their face bend up like a wrench, Yes, but they're happy. No, you can't say, listen, man, for example, I used to, I pastor now in the Mount Salem community, and sometimes you go on the road, and I met a guy up there once, and who I knew him before. So he said, boy, pastor, so I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to see you, pastor. And him not smile, I know. The man face serious, and I'm talk about how him glad to see me. Right away, me know something he want to take off of me, Because him saying glad to see me, but there is no smile on his face, right? So right away I know that, okay, he wants something, right? So don't say I am happy. I'm happy to see you, but there is no smile on your face. So your words are saying happy, but your facial expression, right? Those non-verbal communicating elements now, right, are saying a whole lot more, because you communicate far more non-verbally than you communicate verbally. 93% of what you communicate is through the non-verbal elements, 38% through your speech, those paralanguage, and 55% through your gestures, your facial expressions, your body language, right? Yes, your hairstyle, your dress, all of those are communicating pieces of information about you. Yes. So let me just jump right into the nonverbal communication, because I've been spending a little bit of time there. So your gestures, your body language, your posture. So when you say listen now. So what you're going to do about it? Already your stance is telling yourself, listen, no, I'm ready for fighting. See, step back and ready. Yes. So your body language, your stance, right? Your facial expression, all of this. You may be saying, I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to see you. Now, when we say I'm glad to see you, that means that something will go down in a long time. You want to back me up now, give me your piece of your long tongue, Yes, man, you're ready to back me up now. Because, yes, I'm glad to see you. But there is nothing on your face that expresses happiness and joy. I've seen the person. So obviously something did go down, and you just back up the person now, and you're just ready to give it to them. Yes. In Jesus' name. Have mercy. So your gesture, your posture, your facial expression, they all say something. So I was in my community. My friend and I, we were young lads, and I didn't grow up in the church, so please forgive me, right? So we're in the community, and we're standing by my friend's gate having a reason, and so there's a young lady coming up the road, so she's coming up the road. So And she came around and she's walking up the road now going to the shop. And then she saw us, so she's walking nicely, right? But you can't see me, you can't see me. Can you see me? Oh yeah. So she's walking nicely, come up. I still want to make sure that I'm in the camera, right? So she's walking nicely, coming up the road. And then she saw my friend and I, and then all of a sudden now, the walk changed. And she started to swag and to sway from side to side. So I said, what's here now? So right away, we who have studied body language for ages now understand the message that she's sending, because she was just tracking along coming, and then all of a sudden now she started to swing the hips. So we just knew that she wanted us to say something to her. So we didn't disappoint her. We said something to her. We said, come here, man. So she's on the other side of the road, we're over on, she's on that side, we're on this side. And so we say, come over here, man. Come here now, come here. And so she's over this side of the road, and we're over there. And she's walking, coming up. And she said, no, me not coming. No, me not coming. And she crossed the road, But she's not coming over where we are, Her words are saying, no, I'm not coming. But her body is saying, here I am, Lord. Okay. Right? So you need to make sure that your words and your body language are in sync, right? So they are saying the same thing, right? You don't want to say something different with your words from what your body language is saying. So you can't say, I'm happy to be here, but then there's just no smile on your face. You've got to have at least a little smile on your face. Yes, 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 right? So your facial expressions, how you curl your mouth in pronouncing your words, in sharing your words, in saying, right? The look in your eyes. So your eye contact is also very important, right? So Asians are usually very shy. They don't like a lot of eye contact. But Americans and Europeans and Caribbean nationals, they like when you look them in the eye and talk to them, because what? They feel that when you eyeball them, you're going to be honest in your communication. So when I eyeball you, I'm going to be honest in my sharing with you. But they don't know that we Jamaicans sometimes dry eye and lie, Some of us will look you in the eye and, no, not Christian, you wouldn't do that, right? You're all are Christians, you would not do that. But they believe that when you can look someone in their eyes, you won't tell them lies, or you're least likely to be dishonest in your communication and in what you're sharing, right? So it's important, though, in effective communication to maintain good eye contact. Don't stare people down, Don't stare them down, but maintain a good eye contact, right? In our cultural context, it is appropriate to have very good eye contact with individuals. So I'm eyeballing you as we are sharing thoughts and ideas, right? It tells me too that you are listening to me, that we are sharing, that you are interested in what's happening. These days I see people sitting down, I see couples on dates. Let me show you, because then I have to show you what's going on. So they're on date, it's two young people on a date, and they're on date, and both of them on them phone. And I'm thinking to myself, but what's the sense? They are supposed to be sharing with each other, unless they're sending each other emoji from across the table, right? And we'll get to that in a little while, all right? But it's important for you to make sure that your gestures, your body language, your facial expressions, your eye contact is of such that it's communicating exactly what you would like to share with those with whom you're communicating. All right, so here's another one that I want you to be mindful of as you communicate and share thoughts and ideas. Know that in sharing, especially in using the technology can share so much and no more. There are certain feelings and emotions that the artificial intelligence is not able to completely replicate. And so this is where it's very important for you to understand what they call your emotional intelligence in your communication. So in understanding my emotional intelligence, one, I'm in touch with my own emotions, so I understand my emotions and feelings and know how it impacts what I share with others. In addition to that, I try to develop an understanding of how other persons feel. And so when I'm sharing information with you, I am mindful of one, my own feelings and your feelings. And so there are times individuals say things that they know will hurt other person's feelings, but they do it because they want to destroy the individual's self-esteem. They want to destroy their thinking. They want to destroy. They just want to belittle that individual, and so you want to avoid that. You want to avoid saying things that you know emotionally will disturb individuals. Okay? You want to make sure that whatever you're sharing will only build up individuals. Okay? You want to make sure that you're strengthening your brother or your sister, and you're not necessarily trying to break them down. All right? Now, sometimes people misinterpret things, right? And this is why it's very important for you to always clarify. All right? Always clarify. It's very important for you to do that. All right? Now, in your, so we talk about your verbal communication, we talk about your non-verbal. Let's talk a little bit about utilizing the technology in our verbal communication, because that's going to also impact. Now, the most frequently used device in communication now is your cell phone, right? People utilize their cell phone. There are over 4.7 billion cell phone users in the world, right? And that's a lot of cell phones. So this is now one of the main ways through which people communicate. Either they share voice messages or they share text messages. Now, I have learned some things. I have discovered that there's a whole new language, especially when it comes to texting. LOL, OMG, IDK. Now, I mean, I saw my son send me a message. He was a student at NCU, and so we're texting each other, and I text him, and when I look, I see IDK, whatever that, and some holy letters, you know, mainly consonants and no vowels and hardly vowels, and I'm like, son, I said, what is this? Right? And so I said, listen, man, whenever you are texting me, please communicate in full English sentences with me. I don't care how you communicate with anybody else, but as long as you're communicating to your father, I want to see full sentences from you, my son, because I feel that it would help him in his communication. So it's important to know where you draw the line, because sometimes this transfer into professional environment where we are sending a message in a professional environment, whether it is in our group, with our pathfinders or master guides, or in our church board group, or our working groups at our offices, and we are using the language that way, and it's not professional to do that. And so please make sure that you know where to draw the line. There are times when I do communicate like that to some of my friends, but I know where to draw the line. I know when I'm going to send you a message. If I'm sending Master Guide Keisha Davis a message, I am not giving her IDK, OMG, this, that, right? But I mean, sometimes when we're sharing light moments, we'll do that. But if I'm communicating in a professional environment, I want to make sure that I utilize the message platform in the right way. Use the language. English is still our first language, you know. Yes, so if you don't know the English language, you need to learn it. You need to learn the rudiments of the language so that you can properly use it, right? And that's something that all of us from time to time struggle with. All of us from time to time, we have to develop and grow where the use of the language is concerned. Some of the things in English is very awkward, but in texting, make sure, man, that you communicate clearly, especially when you're communicating on a professional level, all right? So you want to make sure that it's not ambiguous. And emojis are fine. But yes, man, that is when you're having fun and it's light moments. In the professional environment, you try to make sure that you communicate very clearly. You just might hit the wrong emoji, you know. Yes, you might hit the wrong emoji and you go to the wrong person and send the wrong message, right? And some things, I tell you, when you post something, it's very difficult sometimes to take it back, right? I remember I was writing a message, I was posting it, actually I was doing a post on the conference's official Facebook page, and I posted, and the moment I posted it, as I hit post, I realized, oh my, I have a typo in there. And I just went back right away and started to edit. And by the time I updated the edited thing, right, just to change one thing in a jiffy, I was done. Already there were almost 90 persons who already saw the post and were commenting about the typo there. Yes? And so my rule of thumb from then on, when I'm posting, especially for the conference, I type out exactly what I want, I copy and I paste. Because when I type it out, it's clear exactly what I want to communicate, and I read it over and over, and yes, this is what I want to say. I copy that and I paste it and post it. It's finished, it's done, right? So you want to make sure when you're texting, sending text messages, WhatsApp messages, if it's Messenger or Twitter or Instagram, whatever the platform is, if it's an official page you're posting to, if you're dealing with professional communication, please be mindful of the language and utilize the language very carefully, all right? And I'm going to come back to language because that's also important, no? But we're talking about using, and also in the use of the telephone in communication. You know, some people, they answer the phone, yo, what? Hello? Sometimes you're not sure it's who, you know. Yeah. I remember I was getting a call from a gentleman, and so he called, you know. I don't know who it was. It was a number that I don't know. And I say, yo, hey, Wagwan King. Listen, man, I have some of them stuff there, I have some of the white thing, you know, man. And I don't know when you can check me, man. Eh? Because I really want to get rid of it right away, you know. All right? So when you can link me, I say, all right, yeah, man, this is Inspector Myrie. I'm going to check with you right here. Boop, hang up right away. No, he dialed the number, you know. Wasn't, apparently dialed the wrong number. Some other number I want to dial, but he dialed the wrong number and he started to tell me all of what he have and how we want to dispose of it. He did not even wait to find out who was on the other line. Yo, King man. No. So be professional in your use of the telephone. I mean, yes, when you're just calling up your good friend and you're having light moments, fine. But you're calling your pathfinders, parents to find out what's happening with them. You identify yourself. This is Jonathan Myrie from West Jamaica Conference. I'm trying to get in touch with Master Guide. Master Guide Williams. Is this Master Guide Williams? Yes or no, whatever. But one, I've identified who I am. And it's for the person on the other end now to identify themselves, because I know who I'm looking for and I'm asking. So people call my phone sometimes, hey, how this? I said, who you want? Because I can be anybody. You know. I can be Prince Charles. I can be anybody you want me to be. So come speak. So who do you want? And then, who this? But I don't know who I'm talking to, so I'm not identifying myself yet. So I will say, so you called my phone, so who are you? And who are you looking for? Yeah? Good. So identify yourself and provide as much information as you can to make sure that those individuals know that you are calling in a professional capacity, all right? Even if you're just calling to check up on a pathfinder, I heard that my little adventurer was sick, so I want to hear how they were doing, so I'm just calling, you know, hello, is this so-and-so's mommy or daddy? This is Master Guide. Dave is calling just to hear how he or she's doing. I heard that they were not well, so I'm just checking up to see, right? So utilize it very, very carefully as you are communicating and sharing thoughts and ideas, all right? Then you want to make sure that certain things like well, I've learned from my children that it is, I used to say status, but they say no, daddy, it's status, right? So your status, your DPs, that all of those are reflective of who you are, because these are also elements that communicate and share things about you. Oh, I missed something earlier that I should have spoken to, but I'll come to that now, right? So you want to make sure that your DP, it's not a DP that is showing you in your latest two-piece sexy bath suit that you just bought. No, that's not something that you want on your DP. I'm not even sure if that's a picture that you want in your camera roll, right? So it's very, very important that your status, your DPs, right, that those are pieces of information that you carefully guard what you put there, because it's very hard to take them back. You'd be amazed to know how quickly some people screenshot some things and share it, right? By the time you put it up, somebody screenshot it already and have it sharing. All right? So you want to make sure that those things represent what you stand for and who you really are, right? Your hairstyle, your dress, all of those are communicating pieces of information about you non-verbally. So you want to make sure that you share or you send the appropriate message, right? Okay, good. So hairstyles, clothing, infographics, all of these are things that share information about you, all right? Then you want to make sure that you, even on your social media pages, that those pages are also reflecting who you are, because it's communicating and sharing information about you. If you're a master guide and your pathfinders friend you on Facebook or if they join your circle on Instagram, on Twitter, if they follow you, what is it that they see? What kind of character do you portray to them? What are you communicating? What are you sharing about Christian virtues to them? Because you have to understand how important your digital footprint is. The digital footprint that you leave on these platforms is very, very crucial. And let me just caution you to say that organizations are increasingly using your digital footprint in deciding whether or not you work for them, right? I was at another place at another time, and there were some candidates in interviews as we were interviewing, and there was a candidate. She was a standout above everybody else. Yes, she was the obvious pick. She handled herself so well in the interviews. She was the ideal candidate. But when we checked out her social media pages, she did not reflect the values of the company, and so we never hired her. Right? So it's very important for you to leave a good digital footprint, because you're a representative of Christ, and if you are walking the footsteps of Jesus, you have to ask yourself, what kind of footprint am I leaving on the digital plane, right? So the posts that I have, the pictures that I have online, what do they say about me? How much information do they share? What kind of information do they share about me? All right? So make sure that on those platforms that you manage your communication there effectively. And just some simple basic telephone etiquette as we end with the technology side of it, is that you answer the phone promptly and courteously, and make sure that you smile. Yes, smile and speak in a clear and well-modulated voice. Use good grammar. Speak again at a comfortable pace, right? And it's a two-way communication device, so that means you're not only speaking, but you should be listening. And when the other person is speaking, you at least need to sound as if you're interested in what the person has to say. Because one of the great art of communication is listening, right? You have to be able, you have to listen to what you say. So in a boardroom like this that we have at the conference, down at the conference office here, communication may be easy because we are in close proximity. But I mean, if you are far off, then the communication process may differ a little bit. And so you want to make sure that you at least listen. And if you don't hear what the person says, clarify. When the person is close to you, you may hear very clearly. It may be that they're communicating over some device and they're not hearing. Say that you are not hearing, because it's important for you to let them know that you have heard what they have just said, right? Now, what are some of the barriers to communication, to effective communication? Some of the barriers include perception. Now, perception is just the way that you see things. Now, it doesn't mean that that is how it is, But perception is just the way how I see it, how you see it. And a lot of times our perception is shaped by our worldview, where we grow up, how we grow up, the environment in which we are. Now, perception, so just because the individual, this young man walks with a little bit of flair, doesn't necessarily mean that him not right up here or down there, right? Okay. All right? So just because you perceive something does not make it a fact. All right? So that can be a barrier to communication, because we think that this may be this way, then we put up a barrier and we don't communicate effectively. There are also physical barriers, right? It may be that the distance between us, there may be a wall, there may be a window, there may be a door. It may be static in the communication devices. It could be that I don't have sufficient wireless connectivity, so I'm not able to hear you clearly because the signal is dropping or whatever. These are all barriers, and you want to make sure that the barriers go. There are also sociological differences, and these are barriers. You grow up in two different places, you understand life differently, you see the world from different perspectives, you see the world through different eyes, you see the world through different lenses. Yes. And I tell them, I grew up in a largely Indian community. So for most of my life, I see the world as Indians see the world. And that's why, sometimes I differ with some of my Adventist members and friends and brothers and sisters who have this view of Adventism, that it is only the way we practice Adventism in Jamaica that is the way heaven sent for everybody in the world to practice it. And I'm saying there are certain cultural differences and norms that as an individual who grew up in an Indian community, that I understand and appreciate that, and I've always sought to understand different cultural contexts, because Christ also worked with people within their own cultures, right? Now, I'm not talking about if something is grossly against God in a particular culture, but there are certain things that they are basically just cultural practices, right? And they are not necessarily moral issues on which you're going to judge individuals. So just because well, let me put it this way. There are times when we misunderstand people in different cultures. So for example, a lot of Jamaicans believe that every Chinese eat dog, and eat snake, and eat all kind of worms and stuff. But it's not all Chinese eat that. And the truth is that I used to have that perspective too, because I used to listen to a lot of what you see, and people share these messages, and I'm sure all of these worms and these snakes and frogs and stuff that people have cooking, and them say, yeah man, this is what the Chinese people them eat, man. Now, do they eat that in China? Yes. But it's not everybody who eats it. That is mainly my trip there change my perspective because I realized that there are only some places in China where they eat that, and then there are only some people in those places who eat them, right? And it is not just something you go down the street and you see it everywhere. It's not just everywhere. It's mainly in certain food markets and food fairs that you will find some of those things, right? But yeah, but a lot of times it's our sociological differences that inform our thinking, and we use that now in shaping how we relate to individuals. Then there are personal distractions. Those can distract you and cause barriers in your communication. So the person have a scar on them face and them attack to you, and all you do is look at the scar and say, Lord Jesus, I want to scar. My goodness, I saw eyes them big. Me never see nobody here so long yet. What a nose big, man. And so you're so distracted by how the person look, by the scar that's there, by the deformation that's there, by it may be a disability that you see, and it distracts you to the point where the individual is seeking to communicate with you and you are just not listening because there is a barrier that's put up there right away. You are looking at it. You could also be distracted by personal events and happenings in your own life. Yes, I just met in an accident, and so right now I'm not thinking very clearly, I'm not communicating. And this is why I always tell individuals that that whenever you're in an accident, don't give the police your statement about the accident right away, right? So don't give the police your statement right away. The police will wait until when you are in the frame of mind to give that, because the police understands that there are times when you go through a traumatic experience. There are times when emotionally you're so affected by the situation that you don't think clearly and you don't give accurate statements at that point. So if you're in an accident, just tell them, okay, can I come tomorrow to give my statement? Once you give them the requisite information in terms of the contact details, you're the person involved, and you have that information, that is sufficient, you know. And I learned something very important. Well, I won't even share that. That's kind of information that I may best hold to myself, right? But they will wait on those. So when there are personal challenges in the life. I remember my family just passed. It's a highly traumatic experience and situation. And so you may not be thinking very clearly or rationally. And so it's important for you to, when those things happen, to just have a step back, because it may affect what you're going to say and what you're going to communicate. Then there are certain prejudices and biases that individuals may have. And those prejudices and biases affect how you communicate and the way you share information. When I was growing up, when I was in primary school, I would never talk to a girl who did not have brown skin and long hair. Yes, I had to have a long hair, browning. Yes, when I went to high school, it was even worse. I remember one day one of my friends tell me about a young lady who, him said the young lady liked me. No, I am saying, no, oh, this girl must like me. Because this girl, she have dark skin, and furthermore, her hair short. No, she did look nice, you know. But I would not talk to any girl unless she was a browning with long hair. And so you see when my cousin Myrie sing all the song, me love me car, me love me bike, me love me money and thing. But most of all, me love me browning. I say, yes, Buju, I might do that. That is me. That is me. Yeah, because I love my long hair browning. Well, anyhow, you know, this is my long hair browning that I married. You know my long hair browning? If you
Yes,
ever see
sir.
my long hair browning, you ever see my long hair browning? My hair, you know what? Yes, man.
Yes.
My long hair browning here longer than it's shorter than my own. My hair longer than my long hair browning now, and her skin is darker than mine. So that is why my cousin had to go back now and cut a tune. That you know. It's a me no stop cry for
Cry
my
for
black
all black
woman.
woman.
This my girl with her dark complexion, right? But why did I want a long hair browning? I wanted a long hair browning because my sister is one, my mother is one, my cousins, my aunties, all the girls that I was growing up around with, all these girls were long hair browning. So I wanted a girl to fit in. But my family love my short hair black woman now, what them say now? Like me love Aki and Salfish, right? Yes, they love her. She has no challenge fitting in with them. She has such a wonderful personality and they love her dearly, right? But because of the prejudice I had in terms of the environment that I was growing up with, all the girls around me were long hair browning. So I felt that in order for a girl that is my girl to fit in, she had to look that way, right? But it's not that I didn't like white people or brown people or black people. No, it was just the way I was growing up and what I thought was the ideal. Boy, I tell you. And they say once you go black, you can't go back. Oh mercy. That's another discussion. Some of you married the guy that are not married yet, so. Yes, yes. But we're talking about barriers to communication. Yes, yes. So your prejudices and your biases, be aware of them. Know what your prejudices and biases are and how it's going to influence how you communicate, right? Then language is also a barrier. We don't speak the same language. One talks Spanish and one talks French and one talks German and one talks English. So we don't speak the same language. It's very important for you to overcome those language barriers. And I had a big lesson in that when I spent 27 days in China, and man, it was an eye-opener for me, right? We got to China. We were in South China, a city called Changsha. I think it's the third largest city in China. And Changsha is South China, so it's very traditional. People only speak Mandarin and a few will speak Cantonese. And so largely it's Mandarin that we are encountering. So we get to China, we get into the dining room, and right away I know there's a big problem. One, I don't know anything that I see on the buffet line. I can't identify. And to make matters worse, it smells atrocious. I felt like I wanted to throw up. Oh, it was disturbing me. It was so bad. I mean, it really, really smelled bad. I thought the food was spoiling, but the food is not spoiling. It's a certain spice that they use, but the spice smelled bad. And I said to my friend Richie from CVM, I said at the time, I said, Richie, we got to go. We were on a, it was a production workshop I had gone there for. And I said, Richie, we have to go on the road because we had done our homework and we know so them have, they have Pizza Hut, they have KFC, they have McDonald's, right? So we said, no, man, we have to go on the road, go look some food, man. This is a city and we must can find a Pizza Hut inside the place where we can get something to eat. So my friend and I decided we're going on the road. Two other guys decided that they were going to come with us now. 4 Jamaicans on the road in South China. So we take pictures of where we're coming from and we start to walk the street and we're asking questions. Nobody don't know, nobody. No. They don't understand. We're asking, they don't understand. So we realized something very quickly, that the buses, they travel very quickly. Every 5 minutes, a bus show up at the bus stop. So we say, all right, we're going to jump on a bus, and run the city because the bus look like it just drive around the city. So we say, we're going to run the city. So we jump on a bus, and we're driving, and everywhere look the same way, Everywhere look the same way, everywhere look the same way, and we can't read the signs, and the bus is driving, and we realize, but we're not seeing where we're coming from. The place them look the same way, but it's not there we were. I always say, what is this now? All of a sudden, we realize the bus almost empty, We realize, but wait, we don't know, we're maybe further away from where we were, and we haven't yet found a place where we can eat. So what is this? Finally, we're the only ones left on the bus, and the bus driver drive to a certain place and he stop. And him look at us, and he come off the bus, and he call us out of the bus. And we come off the bus, and he lock the bus, and him gone. And the bus depot we reach, man. The bus run the city and it reach the depot and the driver leave and I want next. Driver come take up our next bus. They might clean up the bus and said, Mr. We were lost. We were lost in China right away. Me see everything flash before me. I see Shauna crying over here in Jamaica. And they say, boy, our husband lost and can't come back. I see my children them mourning that they can't find them father. I said, what is this? I am lost. My friends and I, we are lost. Everybody we try to communicate with, nobody we could share anything because nobody spoke our language. And we're walking in desperation. And we say, boy, we must can look up one person. We can understand something what we say. Because we need to find the way back to the hotel. We're asking nobody, everybody Mandarin. And we saw some children passing, and the children are looking at us. They're on the other side of the road, and they're looking at us. And they're looking at us, and they're laughing, and they're looking and laughing. Because what we realize is that a lot of Chinese had never seen black people up close and personal. Some people have never seen, Chinese have never seen a black person in real life, and they're fascinated when they see the black people like that. Right? And so the children are looking at us and they're laughing. So my friend Mark says, why are you laughing at us? And one of them said, you speak English. We said, you speak English, come here. And so we learned that day that the little kids learn a little bit of English. And so we decided, they took us to some adults, asked them to find a way. They put us on a cab, send us back. The next day we gone back on the road again. Yes, but this time we say we're not drive with no old driver. We are looking for a young driver because the young people them speak a little bit of English. So guess what? So now we find ourselves a young driver on the road, and the driver said, listen man, we said no. He don't speak on English, but the driver just take out his phone and him open up an app which was Chinese WhatsApp called WeChat, and him just turn it on and he said speak, and when we spoke in English, it translated it to Mandarin for him to read. He read it in Mandarin, and then he spoke in Mandarin, and it translated it into English for us. And we said, wow, this is the most amazing thing. So guess what we did now? We went down to the telecom place. We asked him to show us where we could get SIM cards to buy for our phone. We went to the telecom, we bought our SIM card, we put it in, we download our WeChat, and right away we could speak Mandarin. So when we go to the market, and we said, how much? We said, how much for this bag? How much for this bag? Want to buy a bag, handbag for my wife? They say, how much for this bag? They say 100 RMB. 100 RMB. We said, no. I paid 20 RMB. They said, no. Okay. 80 RMB. We said, no. 20 RMB. And they said, no. Okay. 50 RMB. We said, no. 20 RMB. They said, 20 RMB. We say, yay. Yeah, so the technology allows, and you have Google Translate and some others that can help you to overcome the translation barriers when it comes to the language. So it's very important, brothers and sisters, master guides and master guides in training, that we understand these barriers and how we can overcome the barriers. Even to learn a few words, if it's a case where you're communicating in a multilingual environment, right? But it's important for you to understand that this process of communication is a dynamic one. It is an art, it is a skill, and it's something that you can develop on, right? One of the key things, and I said it earlier, in understanding the whole art of communicating is your own emotional intelligence. Sometimes people may say something to you, and right away it tick you off, and you put up a block, and you start to resist individuals, and you say some things, and you screw up your face, and you look a certain way, right? Somebody says something to you, and it just rub you the wrong way. I mean, now go back. Oh, you think me not have better things to do with my time? Every Sunday me gone up with the Pathfinder them. And they don't appreciate it. So me not come back down there again. Me not going back down there. You need to understand where you are with your emotions and learn how to manage them in your communication and in your sharing, right? And it's important for you to have a certain level of respect, right? The last thing I want to cover in this whole process of communication is listening. the art of listening. A lot of times conflicts could have been avoided if we only listen to each other. Sometimes I'm so eager to make my own point that I'm not listening to the other person's point. And sometimes if I just took the time out to actively listen, don't just hear, but listen. Because you can hear but not listen. Right? So so actively listen. Listen with the view of understanding what the person is saying, right? Putting yourself in the other person's shoes in this process of communication. So, my brothers and sisters, as you seek to improve your communication, it is my hope that you will, one, understand the process of communication, that there is a source or the one where the information resides, the information or thoughts or ideas that are being shared. There is the encoding process. As the information is encoded, sent through a channel, is decoded and given to the receiver, and the receiver provides a feedback to the sender. And that's when the process of communication is effective. I'd like you to also remember that there are two types of communication. There is verbal and there is non-verbal communication. And in your verbal communication, it is the use of words to communicate your thoughts and ideas, whether those words are said verbally or whether you write them. And also that within your words, there are non-verbal elements in your voice called paralanguage. And this paralanguage also affects the ideas and thoughts that are being communicated through those words. Only 7% of the information that you share is communicated through the actual words. 38% is communicated through the nonverbal elements in your voice. That is called the paralanguage. Then 55% of the information is shared through other nonverbal elements, your gestures, your facial expressions, your posture, right? Your body language. That makes up 55% of the information that you share. And so it's very important that your words and your nonverbal elements are congruent, that they are in sync. So what I am saying with my words, I'm communicating with my facial expression and my body language in general, right? It's also important for me to understand, for all of us to understand the various barriers in the process of communication and know how to overcome those barriers. Barriers such as your sociological differences, your perception, your maybe physical barriers. It may also be personal distractions that are there, as well as your prejudices, biases, and language itself. And listening, the art of listening is very crucial to the process of communication. And ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, be mindful that communication differs from person to person, from culture to culture. But it is an art and a skill that you can develop and you can grow and be more effective in your communication. Thank you so much for being with me. And I don't know if you have any questions. At this time, we can engage each other.
Yes, Pastor Man, we didn't get something.
Yes.
5% of what we share is through body language. 38% is through nonverbal. And is it that you said 7% is through something else?
Well, 38% of it is through the paralanguage or the nonverbal
Nonverbal,
elements in your
right?
voice. Right, the nonverbal elements in your voice, and then 7% is through the words themselves.
Through the words, okay.
Yes. Any other question? I think Master Guide Davis is navigating traffic here.
I am right here, Pastor.
Yes, you're navigating the questions if they have any. Yes.
Yes, I'm checking in the chat. I'm not seeing any in the chat. So, Master Guys in Training, please feel free to ask your questions of Pastor Myrie. You can open your mic or you can post in the chat. All right,
and you know, communication is something that we do in our everyday life because it's part of building relationships. And especially you who are interacting with the youth communicate on a whole new, different level. And so, as I said earlier, you need to understand the level at which they're communicating and get down to their level and share with them. Share their thoughts, share their ideas, and value what they share with you. Be confidential. Not everything that they tell you you need to share with others. You know, I tell you a story. I remember there was a young lady in at my home church, and you know she was very active in church, but this time around I saw her and she was not herself. She was not her usual self. She was distracted. And we were at a church function, and I saw her and I said, you know, you're all right because you don't look all right. And she said, I'm all right. And then afterwards, she came back around where I was, and she said, you know, I was her elder at the time. She said, Elder, I want to talk to you. And I said, no. And she said, if no would be good, but I really need to talk to you privately. And I said, okay. So we slipped away to some place, and then she began sharing with me. She just broke down. She just broke down and she began sharing. She said, you know, she has been talking to this guy, and she and her friend, you know, both of them have their boyfriends, and her friend have been encouraging her that she should engage in sexual activity with this guy. And I mean, she was so distraught because she had apparently, you know, given in. And we were there, and I could see the remorse. I could see the pain that she was going through. And we sat together. She cried. She poured her heart out, and we spoke. And I prayed with her, and she was expecting that she was going to end up at the church board. But I wasn't very quick to do that yet, because in my view, she was very remorseful about the situation and what was happening. I was trying to make sure that she was healed and she was reconciled. And so we talked a few times and we prayed, and I realized that she basically had gotten to the point now where she was really severing her ties with the guy, but keeping him away. But the long and short of that story is that it never went beyond the discussions that we were having. And she overcame that hurdle that she felt, and became a very, very strong and active youth again in the church. She was reconciled. So there are times when we're really quick to bring the hammer down on our young people, and they share information in confidence, and we feel that this is something that we must act on. No, yes, there are some things that we need to act on, but you know, there are certain things that we just need to try to figure out how we're going to get this individual to be reconciled. And so there's some pieces of information shared with you, and it's shared in confidence. There are certain pieces of information shared with you, though, Sister K, Master Guide Davis, and other Master Guides and Master Guides in training, that you who work with children must understand this part of it. And I think you would have dealt with it at some point in the training.
Yes.
But whenever children are being abused, that is something that you have there is no secret that you're going to keep there. So that is something you report right away. Right? If children are being abused, that is something that is reported right away. Yeah, there is no question as to where that is going to go. There's no secret about that. All right?
All right, Pastor, I am not seeing any questions for you in the chat, and I have not seen any indication from anyone that they have a question for you.
I hope it's not because my communication has been very ineffective.
I absolutely don't believe so. I was just about to ask the participants if they found your presentation to be very informative and quite clear, just to give me a 5 in the chat, so that we can let Pastor Myrie know that he has communicated to us quite well this evening and that we were very much informed. And Pastor, while I'm speaking, I am seeing the 5s being reflected in the chat.
Amen. Praise the Lord for that.
Amen. So Master Guys in training, I told you were going to be enjoying this presentation. I have listened to this presentation for quite a number of years now, and every time I listen to it, I learn absolutely something new from Pastor Myrie. And it's one of those presentations that I I don't miss. I've heard it so many times, but I still can't miss it. I have to be a part of the presentation. Always very informative. All right, so at this time, Pastor Mary, I'm going to invite Tamar.
Yes.
Tamar.
So, thank you. Pastor Myrie, on behalf of Master Guides and the Master Guides in Training, I must say a big thank you for an informative and comprehensive description of communication. And as was said, we must know where to draw the line in how we send messages and how we communicate verbally and non-verbally. So again, on behalf of all of us, matter of fact, we must ensure that we put these proper communication skills into practice so as to portray good Christian values. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Master Guide Gray, and it was my pleasure. It's Master Guide or Master Guide in Training?
Master Guide in Training.
All right, M.I.T. Gray. It was my pleasure being with all of you. Thank you so much. And I look forward to us communicating and sharing and growing in our skill in communicating. All right?
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
God
you
bless
so
you
much.
all.
Thank you so much, Tamar. And thanks again, Pastor Mary, for always answering my call to do this presentation.